You wake up, and before your eyes even fully adjust to the light, the sensation is already there. It is not an anxiety about the day ahead, nor is it a specific fear of a looming deadline. It is a background radiation, pervasive, silent, and absolute shame. This is not the sharp, temporary sting of embarrassment that comes from a clumsy mistake or a misplaced word. That kind of shame has an object, a reason, and it eventually fades. This shame is different. It is atmospheric. It is the toxic shame of existence, the haunting, persistent belief that you are fundamentally defective by design. It is the feeling that you are occupying space you haven't earned, breathing air you don't deserve, and that your very presence is a systemic error you are desperately trying to patch with every action you take. You perceive yourself not as a person who occasionally fails, but as a failure itself. This is the core of the narcissistic wound, a childhood installation where you were taught that your right to exist was never unconditional. You were allowed to be only if you were useful, only if you were a function that satisfied the needs of others. If you were compliant, successful, silent, or ideal, you were granted a temporary pass to exist. The moment you showed your true self, vulnerable, flawed, or simply human, that pass was revoked. Now you carry this legacy forward, manifesting it in a relentless, exhausting drive to justify your place in the world. Look at the way you work, the way you cannot seem to rest, the way you compulsively check messages even on your own time. This is not the mark of a high performer. It is the frantic attempt to buy your way into safety. You are trapped in a perpetual game of proving your worth, terrified that if you stop moving, if you stop producing, the facade will crumble and reveal the emptiness you are convinced lies beneath. In relationships, this shame becomes a suffocating cage. You are incapable of simply being, of existing in the presence of another without performing. Every interaction becomes a high-stakes exam where you are both the student and the suspicious proctor, scanning your partner's face for any sign of disappointment or discovery. You do not build genuine connections because you are too busy managing the image of yourself that you believe is the only one worthy of love. You are convinced that if your partner saw the true you, the one plagued by doubt and this viscous, ancient shame, they would instantly recoil. And so, you hide. You curate your personality, you mirror, you adapt, and you sacrifice the possibility of intimacy for the security of being acceptable. Your brain clings to this shame because it has been conditioned to believe that shame is a protective shield. It is a tragic paradox, yet entirely logical within the broken operating system you were given. As long as the problem is you have a sliver of hope that you can solve it. If the defect is located within your character, then perhaps enough effort, enough perfection, and enough self-optimization will finally earn you the right to be at peace. Shame acts as a relentless overseer, whispering that if you just try harder, hide better, and become smaller, you will finally be safe. But you are no longer a child in that original stifling environment. You are an adult, and this program is running in the background, consuming 90% of your energy just to keep the lights on. You are not living. You are surviving an internal trial that was rigged against you from the start. This is the exhausting reality of the false self, a structure built to survive a past that is long gone, yet it dictates every single decision you make in the present. You are not a broken person. You are a person operating on a broken, outdated, and malicious script that you did not write, but one you have been conditioned to defend as your own. Now that we have established that this shame is not a character trait, but an outdated operating system, it is time to begin the dismantling process. The true trap lies in the fact that you attempt to heal this shame using the very same methods that created it, through achievement, through external validation, and through the frantic fixing of your perceived defects. This is akin to trying to extinguish a fire with gasoline. Every time you tell yourself, if I just do this one more thing, I will finally be enough, you are merely reinforcing the foundation of your own prison. You are feeding a narcissistic inner critic that will never whisper enough, because its sole function is to keep you in a state of perpetual readiness for justification. Dismantling begins with the radical realization that the shame of existence is not your error. It is the result of adapting to an environment where love was a currency you could only earn by abandoning yourself. You were not born with this weight. You installed it as a survival mechanism in a space where being yourself meant being discarded. Yet, you are safe now. The paradox is that your brain is still scanning for approval from people who have long since lost their power over you, or from the ghosts of a past that still inhabit your headspace. To halt this process, you must stop fighting the shame. Struggle is energy. When you attempt to overcome shame, you acknowledge its authority. You are essentially telling it, you are real, therefore I must change you. In truth, you must allow it to simply be. Allow yourself to feel this background static without the compulsion to explain, justify, or erase it. When this awareness of your own defectiveness surfaces, you must stop the urge to run to work or scramble for proof of your significance. You must pause and name it. This is the program again. This is not me. This is harder than it sounds because emotionally you experience this shame as absolute truth. It feels like a fundamental reality penetrating every cell of your being, but it is a cognitive distortion. Your psyche is a system that learned to react to a threat where none currently exists. True liberation arrives not when you become better, but when you accept the reality of being a regular human being. A human being who has the right to make mistakes, the right to fatigue, and the right to exist without reporting on your efficiency or your quality to anyone. This is the renunciation of the false self. It is an uncomfortable process because the false self is your comfort zone. It is your illusion of safety. Losing it makes you feel exposed, raw, and vulnerable. You may feel as though you have become nothing at all. And yet, it is precisely at this point that true freedom is born. You finally become a blank slate. You stop being a project for others and become the subject of your own life. This demands that you surrender control over what others think of you and pivot to controlling how you direct your own energy. You no longer need to pay for your existence with productivity. You no longer need to function as a tool. You simply are. And that fact alone is sufficient to claim your right to this life, to these mistakes, and to this version of you, which, while still unfolding, is finally, undeniably real.